With Halloween fast approaching, it's time to do another top 10 list of the best horror movies. In this particular case, we're going to do the best J horror movies. Let's go. First of all, thanks everybody that voted on my channel yesterday for my next video. Now, for those of you that might not know what J-horror is specific to Japanese horror movies. It's not the same as Asian horror movies that cover the entire continent. It's just Japan. So this came to prominence, I would say, around the year 2000. Here in America, I believe The Ring released first. Shortly after the success of The Ring, America also remade The Grudge, The Eye, Dark Water, a ton were remade here in America. But when I saw The Ring, I always wanted to go back to the source material. I went deep into J-horror. I've seen so many, everyone that I can get my hands on, I saw, from Tommy Rebirth, some very obscure ones that you might not have ever heard of. But for this list, I'm going to detail 10 that I found to be outstanding from that area. So let's get going. Coming at number 10, I'm going to go with Premonition, coming out in 2004. Premonition was pretty cool. He finds a newspaper article that mentions a car accident involving his wife and his daughter, who were waiting by the side of the road as he was at the payphone. A few seconds later, that premonition came to be. His wife survived, his daughter did not, and his wife thought that he was crazy and that premonition and that newspaper was not really there. He never really saw it. So they ended up getting divorced, and from that point forward, he is still haunted by these premonitions. And let me say this, I can say about when it comes to J-horror, one of the things that I really appreciate is Asian culture and Japan culture. They do a very good job with the atmosphere, creepiness, and making things just feel unsettling for the entire movie. They're really good with tones of movies. And I also think J-horrors are great with ghost movies. If you like a good ghost story, Premonition is really good. There are some very creepy scenes in this movie, and the overall story is very good as well. So at number 10 for me, I'm going to go with Premonition, 2004. Coming in at number 9, I'm going to go with another 2004 movie, Infection, that was centered in a hospital, and there was a patient that came in. The patient's death was covered up by certain workers in the hospital, and those people that covered this death up ended up all being infected with this, whatever it was that crept throughout the entirety of the hospital and made people physically, mentally, emotionally, just all the trauma they were going through was popping on screen. It's one of the nastiest, but most unsettling. That's the biggest word that comes to mind when I watch this movie. The entire thing, from the moment the patient is there to the end, it's just a very unsettling movie, but it is absolutely terrifying and is absolutely amazing. So for me, number 9 is going to be Infection. Coming in at number 8, we are still in the year 2004. Number 8 for me is Shudder. Now this is also remade, an American remake. The remake's decent until you watch the original. When you see the original, the remake has nothing on it at all. This is one of the best, not even best J-horrors. This is one of the best ghost movies I've ever seen. Story centers around a man who gets into a car accident involving a young girl. From the rest of the movie on, he's haunted by visions, and he's got this pain in it, on like his shoulder and neck pain throughout the movie. Nothing's really explained why it's happening until it gets towards the end, which I will not spoil here, because the twist is pretty cool. It's a pretty good twist at the end, which makes the movie make much more sense. But from a aspect of just pure of a horror movie with some good jump scares and some good just overall very tense scenes, my number 8 is Shudder. Coming at number 7, I'm going back to 2001, the movie Pulse, which was also remade here in America. And honestly, it's probably the single worst horror movie remake I have ever watched. It is very, very bad, the American version. But the original version, 2001, is the complete opposite. So it's an online based haunt, an online based ghost movie where one of the friends of this group commits suicide, and then throughout it becomes like the internet turns to be a platform for hauntings. And it is so creepy. There is a scene in this movie that I would love to put in the video. The only reason I don't want to put it in this is because it is so good and it is so effective that it would, if you haven't seen it, it would not, it would water it down to where when you went to go see the actual movie, it wouldn't have the same effect. But Pulse, I just watched it again a few weeks ago. Absolutely love the movie. If you're into just atmospheric ghost movies, this one's for you. Number 7, Pulse. Coming in number 6, we're going to travel forward to 2018. Um, this movie is Gonjiam. I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly. The Haunted Asylum. This movie is really good. Think of it as the Japanese version of Grave Encounters, except more atmosphere and better delivered jump scares. And that's not a knock on Grave Encounters. Grave Encounters is really good. One of my favorite found footage movies. This one just took what Grave Encounters did and kind of stepped it up a little bit more. I'm newer to seeing this movie. I prefer to watch Grave Encounters more. Let me take that back. I've watched Grave Encounters more than I've seen this one, but this one is intense. If you are a found footage fan, so the story is a horror group, a horror like they like live stream different horror things. They went to an asylum and they got much more than they bargained for. Again, very similar to Grave Encounters. So if you like Grave Encounters, you will love this. Number 6, The Haunted Asylum. Coming in number 5, I'm going to go to 1998, the movie that essentially started off this entire trend, the original Ring, Ringu. Now, if you've seen The Ring, you know exactly what's happening. There's a cursed videotape, a VHS tape. If you watch it, 7 days later, you're gonna be killed. You're gonna pass away somehow. Same exact concept. The Ring in America was I would say just as good. I don't really prefer one to the other. I liked Ringu a lot, but The Ring was one of the better remakes that were made of it. So if you like The Ring, Ringu you'll love. I will say the main difference that I can see in Ringu and The Ring is what I've said previously in this video, that J Horror just does a great job with atmosphere. It does a really, really good job with making you feel uneasy even when nothing's happening. Whereas some American horror, you get these laws of like, okay, everything's okay. Everything's okay. That's the only thing I can see that the Ringu did better than The Ring. But other than that, they're very, very similar. But still, one of the best movies I've ever seen from the J horror side of things. So number 5 for me is Ringu. Cut at number 4. We're gonna go back to we're gonna go forward to 2002. Dark Water. Dark Water was also remade here in America. Not as good to me. Nowhere near as good, because I keep using the word atmosphere, but that's the best way to put it. So this movie is set in an apartment complex with a woman that is just moved into this new complex, and there's a leak above her apartment, and there's this ghostly apparitions that go throughout. Now, as the movie goes on, when they go up the stairs and uncover more of what's happening, you'll find out more of what it is. I have to be very generic in my explanation of this movie, because a lot of what I could say would give away some of the more deeper meanings and the twists and turns of the movie. But Dark Water, I remember watching this one. I think I saw this one after I saw The Ring, before I saw The Grudge. And I mean, as I put in this list, it was scarier than The Ring to me. It's a scary Very well made ghost movie. If you love ghost movies, this is another one you would like to check out. Number 4, Dark Water. Coming to number 3, we're going to go back to 1997. This movie is called Cure. Now, this one's very hard to find. After I saw The Ring and Ringu and all these other movies, I just went on a tear, going on eBay, going on Amazon, going wherever I could to find movies. And I happened to snag Cure. I believe it was through eBay. This is more of a, I would say, Silence of the Lambs or Seven type movie. It's not your typical J horror that's ghost filled. It's a crime movie, but it is very unsettling and terrifying. So there's a string of random murders, and the lead detective just cannot find out what's going on here because there's no motive behind a lot of it. There's no lead up behind a lot of it. There is no pattern. It's random people with no priors, with no real reason to do this, just killing random people. And it becomes more and more intense as it goes on. Come to find out, it is all due to a person that is a hypnotist. And that's all I'm going to say about it. Like, clearly it's my number 3. If you can find this movie, you will absolutely love it. As far as crime movies goes, this is my favorite. This is my favorite by far, and that's including Seven, including Silence of the Lambs. I love those movies. This one I rewatched so many times. There's just something about it that just gets me, because whereas the other ones are good crime movies, they're not necessarily that scary to me. This is a crime movie that actually is pretty terrifying. Number 3 for me is Cure. Coming in at number 2, Ju-On the Grudge. Not to be confused with Ju-On the Curse, okay? When I was trying to find this movie, I saw the trailer for what was Ju-On the Grudge. When I ordered it from eBay and I got it, it was Ju-On the Curse. Just so you guys know, it's the same exact movie. One was just a made-for-TV movie. The made-for-TV movie is The Curse. The theatrical release is the Ju-On the Grudge. Obviously, by the name, it is the original to the American-made The Grudge. There's not a lot of differentiation between the American version and the original. Both are very, very strong. But again, it goes back to what I said, that little bit of atmosphere and a little difference, the little nuances that the J horror implement make this one more unsettling and a little bit and more, it draws you in a little bit more to where the jump scares become more effective. You're already uncomfortable throughout, but then the jump scares add on top of it and just make it even more. So my number 2, Ju-On the Grudge. Now, before I get to my number 1, I have got to mention an honorable mention here. I went back and forth about including whether or not to include these movies, but I couldn't leave them off completely. Godzilla and Godzilla Minus One. I don't necessarily consider them J horror, although when the first one came out in the 50s, it was a sci-fi horror movie. I just don't think of it in the same vein as these movies that I've just mentioned previously on this list. So, but I cannot go without saying, because to me, the best movie I've ever watched from Japan in general is Godzilla Minus One. So I had to at least mention it. Those two are my honorable mentions. Now, here we go. Number 1, the best J horror movie that I have ever watched, Audition. Audition is not, it's not ghostly. It's not necessarily crime in the way that Cure is. It's not, it's its own thing, but man, is it intense. So there's a guy who loses his wife, I believe it was to cancer. And some years later, he's trying to find somebody new. Doesn't really know how to go about meeting anybody. So him and his friend come up with this idea to cast a lead for a new movie. And in that casting, he would find not a lead for the movie, but a person for him to be with. And he comes across the lead of this movie. And his friend is like, something about her is just not right. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but something's not right. Throughout this movie, there are warning sign after warning sign after warning sign to this guy. But hey, he's head over heels. And the last, I would say, 15 minutes of the movie are just intense. Absolutely intense. Absolutely uncomfortable. Just dark and very, very brutal. You feel for the main character though, because of you see his desperation and wanting to find somebody and just wanting to and really thinking that he did. But man, by the time it's over, it's just like you can't just watch that movie and then go about your business. It's gonna be, you're gonna need to like take some time to decompress from that movie. It's that intense. If you have not seen Audition, that is the best movie that I've ever again, aside from Godzilla Minus One, for this list, that is the best movie that I've ever seen from J Horror. That's my list, guys. What have you seen on this list? What did you see? What have you seen that I didn't mention? Is my order of operations, is it on point, or did I get this totally wrong? You guys, please let me know in the comments. Again, thank you guys for joining me. See you guys next time.